Hello, I'm Christopher Kenworthy, and welcome back to Building a Black and White Photography Workflow. In this lesson, you'll convert some of your favourite colour shots into black and white to see which ones work and which ones don't. You might be surprised that some of your great colour photographs simply don't work when converted to black and white, and that's okay. In fact, it's essential for you to see some bad black and white images if you're to learn how to take good ones. In many cases, photographs are actually all about colour, so if you take that colour away, there's not much left to the image. In other cases, colour is used to guide the eye to the subject, and again, converting it to black and white won't yield good results. You're probably so used to seeing in colour that your photographs are based around colour, even if you don't realise it. When you go out to take photographs, you're probably using colour to add shape and form to the image. When it comes to black and white photography, you can't use colour to direct attention or shape the image. You have to rely on shadow, light, and shades of grey. So you'll need to learn how to see in monochrome. One way to do that is to analyse the photographs you've already taken and see how you've been using colour up until now. Go through your photographs, and when you find one you like, open it in Photoshop and go to Image, Mode, Grayscale. If you get a dialog box asking whether you want to discard the colour information, check the Don't Show Again box and then click Discard. This will speed things up when you repeat the process with other images. Just make sure you don't save the image or you'll have lost all the colour information. Later on in the course, when you want to convert images to black and white and finish them in black and white, you'll need to use an adjustment layer to gain full control of the image. But that's more time consuming, and right now you're not trying to make these images look as good as you can. All you're doing is seeing what they look like when the colour has been removed. So this quick grayscale conversion does the trick. As soon as you've converted the image, look away from the screen just for a few moments or close your eyes briefly. And this will prevent the colour remaining as an after image. It means you get to see the image in a more pure way. You see it as black and white rather than remembering the colour detail too much. After you've looked away, look back and see whether the image works in black and white. Where is your eye drawn to? What catches your attention? When you're done, close your image without saving and repeat this process with as many images as you can. When there's no colour present in an image, the first thing we look at is the brightest point or the largest bright shape. After that, your eye may be guided along lines toward other details. You'll often see patterns or look for areas of contrast between light and dark. But the most important thing to note is your gut reaction. When you look at the image in black and white, do you think it's a good photograph? Would it catch your attention? Would you want to share it with people? This gut reaction is more important than any other kind of analysis you can do. If you like the photo in black and white, that's the best possible sign. The answer isn't always clear. With some images, you'll know immediately that could never work in black and white. This image, for example, relies on the bright orange colour for the distant track in the background to show up. Without that orange colour, there's nothing in the image to draw your eye, and you can hardly even see that there's a dirt road there at all. You don't know where to look and there's no particular subject. In colour it works fine because your eye's drawn to that coloured strip of road through the landscape. So this shows that sometimes colour is absolutely vital and an image just won't work in black and white. With other photographs, you might find that the feeling of the image changes or its meaning changes slightly, but you get the sense that it just might work in black and white. This image is a good example because it works well in colour. The red of the bricks pulls them towards the viewer, which emphasises the angles of the building. Contrasted against the blue sky, the bricks work really well. The image changes when converted to black and white, but it's not immediately clear whether this is successful. Without the colour contrast, you might find that your eye is drawn to the texture in the bricks, and suddenly the window becomes far more important. In colour, the window was a minor detail, but in black and white it becomes the place that your eye is drawn to. You could even say that the window becomes the main subject of the image. With images like this, take the time to see how black and white changes the meaning of the image, even if it's only a slight change. Occasionally, when you're going through your images, you'll find one that works brilliantly in black and white even though you never planned to use it as a monochrome shot. In this example, I was trying to show two common features from this area of the United States. There are lots of metal bridges and lots of mountains in Washington State, so I framed the mountains inside a triangle that was formed by the struts of the bridge. But originally, I shot this in colour, thinking that it would work as a colour shot. Unfortunately, it never worked as well as I hoped it would in colour. The mountain didn't really show up, so even though I'd framed it within that triangle, the triangle didn't really work to draw your attention to the mountain. And the background colour makes the bridge look too much like a silhouette. So this was one of those rare occasions when I converted to black and white and realised I had a much better result. When you're going through your own images, treasure these moments and see what you can learn from them. One useful trick is to zoom right out from the image to see if it works as a thumbnail. In Photoshop, use Command or Control with minus and just keep pulling out until it looks about thumbnail size. The best images work at many different sizes, so this can be a good way to see if the image has impact. You can see how that works with this image. I felt uncertain about it at first, but when reduced to a thumbnail, it does work quite well. So that's convinced me this could work in black and white even though it was intended to be a colour shot. The general advice given to black and white photographers is to look for good contrast between shadows and light. Look for patterns and shapes and interesting shades of grey. Sometimes though, images that you think will work in black and white don't work because the colour in them is doing so much of the work. This image of a tree shadow works in colour because there's so much colour in the brick wall, and because that orange colour is offset by the green in the tree. But I actually shot this hoping it would work in black and white. I'd found an image with lots of interesting lighting details and patterns and good contrast between shadow and light. To me, it seemed like an ideal candidate for black and white, but I'd underestimated how much the colour was affecting the overall image. When we convert this to black and white, it loses all its impact. The tree in the foreground looks like nothing more than a distracting blur, and the shadows on the wall just blend in with the bricks. Nothing looks particularly distinct. I thought I was shooting a pattern of dark and light with a focus on the shape of the shadows, but the truth is that this image is about colour and the way the shadows play over that colour. You could increase the contrast to make this work better in black and white, but what I really learnt from this image is that it is, at best, a colour photograph and would never be an ideal black and white image. The same is true of this image, which contains a good mix of shadows and light along with some contrast. This was another image that I thought could work in black and white, but when it's been converted it loses all its impact. Once again, I learned that my eye was being drawn to colour subjects. You probably love looking at colour and photographing colour, so it's quite a difficult habit to break. The skill you need to develop is the ability to see beyond the colour and imagine what's going to genuinely work in black and white. As I say, you may be in for some surprises when you start converting your images, but that's a good thing, and it can only help you to learn. Once you've done some quick conversions, you need to take this a step further. When you go out to shoot, you'll try to imagine how a photograph will look in monochrome before you even release the shutter. So you should practice that now. Look at an image in colour and then, before you convert it to grayscale, imagine how it's going to look. Try to decide whether it will be successful or not. Imagine where the contrast will be and where your eye will be drawn to. Once you've imagined it in black and white, you can do the conversion and see how accurate your imagination was. Practice this over and over again, but make sure you really take the time to imagine the black and white result before you do the conversion. When you go out on your first black and white shoot, you'll look through the viewfinder and you'll be able to apply this same imaginative process. You've trained your imagination to see how photographs will look in black and white and mastered the first step to becoming a black and white photographer.